Hey, what up? This is Alex from ZEPTER. I'm here for the Metal Trip to talk about my four influential albums. Now, first off, thanks for letting me do this. I really like talking about music, but because of that, it was hard as hell to only pick four albums, which is, I guess, hard to anybody doing this. But I tried to not only pick four records that were influential to me, but also to our band, ZEPTER, and that helped us to create the sound we're trying to play. First record is Blue Oyster Cult, Tyranny and Mutation. Now, I could have picked any Blue Oyster Cult record, but I think this one, that was the first one I was listening to when I was in my early 20s, and yeah, it's for the rockers. It has just great songs from start to ending. And I remember that was about the time when I started to seriously play drums, and I heard that fill-in on the red and the black. There's this little fill-in where it goes on the hi-hat and on the snare. And the first time I heard it, I was like, what? What was that? And I put it back on and was listening to it again and again and again. And then I tried to recreate it, but I miserably failed, and I probably still fail to this day because that's some great high level musicianship on that record and on all the other records that came afterwards or before. And yeah, what else is there to say about Blue Oyster Cult? I mean, they never really got the credit they deserved. That's not a secret, I guess, but they were very influential to a lot of bands, and I think they're like a band's band, so to say. There's also a great movie, a 90s movie that is called the Stoned Age, which is mainly about Blue Oyster Cult. It's about it's kind of like a dazed and confused type of movie. It's about two guys driving around in their car. They have the Blue Oyster Cult logo. It's a blue car, and the logo is in red on the front of the car. Very cool looking. And Don't Fear the Reaper plays a big role in the movie as well. And I think you can see Buck Dahmer and Eric Bloom in the ending scene. So yeah, just a great one. If you haven't seen that one, check that out. It's called The Stoned Age. If you enjoy silly little 90s movies. Next one is an influential to Zepta again. Not so much, I think, on the way Luki writes the songs or we try to arrange the songs, but more on the way we try to record the songs. That's a very not so polished speed metal, heavy metal record with very raw sound and not so many studio tricks going on. This is Maniac by Acid. Now that was in originally I think 83 or 84. That's a repress by High Roller Records. And yeah, like I said, everyone in Zepter loves this record, and yeah, we are very much influenced by it. The songs are great. The drumming is really great, and that was one of the first things I got really influenced by. Was Acid, and I mean, if you look at the band picture, they're all wearing denim and jackets and no spandex, not so much spandex, so you know that's really raw aggression. And yeah, I like the other records as well, but this one definitely is my favorite. Now, next one, I know it's the metal trip, but sometimes you gotta throw in some punk as well. That was a huge influence on me for Zepta, for the way I would like to play the drums. It's a punk record, but it has a lot of metal influences. That's Sacrilege Behind the Realms of Madness. Like I said, I think it was 84. Also, again, High Roller Repress. They did a repress of this in 2014-15. A big metal label did a repress, but it had a different cover, and I just couldn't understand why they would not choose the original one. Now the 2015 repress had some, I don't know, that it was more greenish. It had a Grim Reaper on it, but it wasn't really fitting the vibe. It wasn't really doing it for me. So I'm very happy that they re-released it with the original artwork. Yeah, that's just a great punk drummer. Like Andy is credited as the drummer, and there's nothing too crazy going on with the drums on that record, which of course it's a punk record, and it's just the way that the drums and the beats are pushing the riffs and the songs, and, and sometimes the drums are before the riff or behind the riff or right on top in the pocket, and I think that's whether it was intentional or not, that's really something cool, and I like that a lot. Not most people are familiar with this record. That's no secret anymore. But later on, they changed their sound and became doom metal, I guess you can say. And they played some shows or were on tour with Candlemass, which is also pretty cool to know that like this is a punk record with metal influences, and later on was metal with punk influences, more or less. So I like everything they did. Now, last record is also again a very influential to ZEPTER. We tried to focus. It's a big band. We tried to focus more on the early material on the first two records, and this is a live album, which mainly has the first two records on it. And of course, Dave Lombardo, huge influence on every drummer, whether they know it or not, playing metal style. Now there's this thing that I don't know if it's Show No Mercy or Hell Awaits, where the drums got recorded in two different parts. One was the shells and the snare, of course, and the other was the cymbals. And now I once read that was something that John Bonham did or Led Zeppelin did in the 70s, and they have way slower songs and that worked probably. But for fast songs, it kind of sounded wobbly. So I think Dave says it himself that he wasn't really happy with how the drums sounded on either both or one of the first two records. So you can totally hear that this is live, and obviously they didn't have the possibility to do that live, so you can really hear the magic of him with all the great songs like Black Magic. I especially like the version of Antichrist here on this record. It's a faster one, much more faster than on the record. But yeah, first two Slayer, very influential to us. So yeah, these were my four influential albums. And now I would like to do some honorable mentions. These are records that were very influential to me as a music listener, or as a musician, or as a person itself, or very influential to ZEPTER as well. Now the first one is Hawkwind, also very influential to ZEPTER, In Search of Space. This one is really cool. I got this. It's an original from the, I think it was, when was it released? Doesn't say here, 70s around, early 70s, and I mean it's completely cut up here, as you can see. But I was really happy because once I opened it, there was this little book falling into my hand, and here it says it's like the Hawkwind log, and it has like all these weird stuff like space stuff, and I don't know, like all the other, there's some really cool like comics and everything in it. So yeah, I really like the Hawkwind catalog. Next one, that was also really influential, not an original. Next one, really influential to me as a drummer. I mean, controversial human being, but great drummer and great band. There's this documentary on him. It's called Beware of Mr. Baker. That is really fun to watch, but yeah, shows how controversial he was as a human being. Next one is not a metal, but from time to time I gotta listen to this. That was one of the first bands or music I was listening to. This one was very influential to me because it introduced me to Judas Priest and to the entire world. Like I've always I always was aware of Judas Priest because of like video game soundtracks, but this one really got me, and I understood what they were doing and where they were coming from. Now, next one is also very influential by me. It was shown to me by my good friend Thomas. He showed me lots of good records and lots of great bands. But I remember it was a warm summer day, also in my early 20s, and we were out for some drinks, and he played the first song of that record, and I was completely shocked. And I was like, "What was that? What was that?" And he was like, "That's Scorpions." And I was like, "Wait, the Scorpions from Winds of Change?" And he was like, "Yeah." And that opened up a whole new world to me. Now, still no secret, not anymore, that like early, like Ulich and Roth era Scorpions is amazing. And I like that one. I still play that one, and really lots of good memories. So yeah, thanks again to my friend Thomas for showing me this and all the great records. Now, next record, that one really changed my life. That was in when I was 19, and I came from a completely different background of music, and that kind of like opened up the world, the subgenres of metal, and everything else beyond. Like that's Iron Age, Sleeping Eye. The singer on this one later went on and formed Eternal Champion, the epic metal band, if you want to throw around genres. But this one is harder, thrashier, crossoverier, and the riffs are insane. And especially after all these years, listening and dissecting that record, I realized that the main magic on this is not only the riffs but the interaction between drums and the guitar, and it makes it even more special if you know that these two were brothers and they played together for a long time. And I think like that record really, yeah, just an amazing record. And I also bought it when I was on vacation in America at the Generation Records in New York. That was right about the time when that came out. It was 2009, and I remember I was super excited about the record. That was pre-internet day when you could not. I mean, that was MySpace, but you couldn't really listen a lot to anything else. And when I heard that was just that blew my mind. Now, last honorable mention is also a record that that was really influential to me, but not so much the record itself, but the guy that gave it to me. That was like I bought a lot of secondhand used records from a store, and that's like Avardis, 100 miles per hour. And the record store owner, he was like this metal guy in his late 50s, early 60s, and he said, "Hey, come here. I've noticed you buying all these like early 70s records and heavy metal records, and you could really like this." That was also again in my early 20s, and he said it's like Motorhead but way faster. And I wouldn't really agree on that one, but yeah, he more or less gave this to me. And I remember one time my wife and I went there to the record store and went shopping, and he was like, "Hey, come here, I'm gonna show you something." And he showed us pictures. Like there was this big photo album of all the pictures he shot in the early 70s or like till mid 80s or something. And it was like Black Sabbath was on the first page. Like there were lots of pictures of Black Sabbath. I don't really know if it was the Life in Paris stuff that you can watch on YouTube, but it must have been from that tour. And yeah, it was crazy. Like he was really upfront and really close to the band. And there was Judas Priest pictures and Motorhead pictures, and just yeah, it was just crazy to see all that stuff. And to know that there's a big collection of pictures by like my favorite bands that never really reached the internet or the public, so to say. And then I had this plan of going there and asking him, "Hey, can you give me the photos? I'm gonna scan them and put them," because they were really cool. Like they were really cool pictures by a fan of like bands becoming legends, but were not legends back in those days. And apparently one day I got there and the shop was closed. Like all the records were gone. It was completely empty. And still to this day, I don't know what happened or like. So yeah, I think that the pictures are lost. But yeah, still can remember them. So thanks a lot for letting me do this. And if you liked the four influential records or some of the honorable mentions, maybe you want to check out our band. It's called ZEPTER. We're about to release our first album on High Roller Records. I think it's gonna drop on February 20th. And we're gonna play some shows, and yeah, maybe just give us a listen, and maybe you can hear some of these bands I showed overshadowing over the songs. And yeah, thanks again, and bye.